How quickly can a championship dynasty turn into a fire sale? And why does it always seem to happen when you least expect it? The basketball gods have a twisted sense of humor, don't they? Just when you think you've figured out the formula for sustained NBA success, they deliver a gut punch so devastating it reshapes an entire franchise's future in a single horrifying moment. The Boston Celtics, fresh off their 2024 NBA championship triumph and riding high with 61 wins as defending champions, are about to become the latest cautionary tale about how quickly everything can fall apart in professional sports. What we're witnessing isn't just roster management, it's the systematic dismantling of a championship core, forced by circumstances beyond anyone's control and accelerated by the unforgiving economics of modern NBA basketball. This is heartbreak disguised as business strategy, and the ramifications will echo through the league for years to come. The injury that changed everything. Let's be brutally honest about what happened here. Jayson Tatum's ruptured Achilles tendon didn't just sideline a superstar, it obliterated an entire organizational timeline. When your best player, your franchise cornerstone, your 27-year-old first-team All-NBA talent goes down with one of the most feared injuries in basketball, everything changes overnight. ESPN's Shams Charania dropped the bombshell that perfectly encapsulates Boston's new reality during his appearance on the Pat McAfee show. How the Celtics are operating in this space right now is they're looking at next year as a retooling year. That doesn't mean you don't want to stay competitive, but realistically, without Jayson Tatum, it's going to be tough. Retooling year. Let those words sink in. This is the same franchise that captured the NBA championship just last season, the same team that won 61 games as defending champions. Now, they're talking about retooling because one catastrophic injury exposed just how precarious championship windows really are. The cruel irony? Tatum is entering what should be the prime years of his career. At 27, he should be leading championship charges, not rehabbing from one of basketball's most devastating injuries. Instead, the Celtics are staring down a season where their best player might not even step foot on the court. The trade market reality. Check here's where this story gets truly fascinating and utterly ruthless. The Celtics aren't just tweaking around the edges, they're preparing for what could be a wholesale restructuring of their championship core. Names like Jrue Holiday, Sam Hauser, and Kristaps Porzingis are already floating around trade rumors like leaves in a hurricane. But the most shocking part? Even Derek White and Jaylen Brown have been mentioned in trade discussions. Brown, the finals MVP who helped deliver Boston's championship, could potentially be moved. White, one of the most versatile and valuable role players in the league, might be sacrificed to financial reality. Charania did note that it would take an insurmountable offer to pry away stars like White and Brown, but the fact that they're even being discussed reveals the depth of Boston's predicament. When championship heroes become trade assets, you know the situation has reached critical mass. This isn't just about basketball decisions. It's about the harsh economic realities of maintaining championship-level talent in today's NBA. The Celtics are facing a salary cap crunch that demands painful choices, and Tatum's injury has accelerated their timeline dramatically. The championship window paradox, what makes this situation so tragic, is how it perfectly illustrates the fragility of NBA success. The Celtics did everything right. They assembled a championship-caliber roster, won the title, and followed it up with 61 wins as defending champions. They had the talent, the chemistry, and the organizational structure to potentially compete for multiple championships. But basketball, like life, doesn't care about your plans. One injury, one freak moment, one torn Achilles tendon, and suddenly your championship window isn't just closing, it's being boarded up for renovations. The Celtics enjoyed what Charania described as a 2-year window with the same team that resulted in their 2024 championship. That window is now effectively slammed shut, not because of poor decision-making or organizational failure, but because of the cruel randomness of sports injuries. Yes, they were upset by the Knicks in the second round this past season, but context matters. They were dealing with injury issues throughout the playoffs, and even championship teams sometimes fall victim to bad luck and hot-shooting opponents. The talent was still there, the foundation was still solid, until it wasn't. The ripple effect throughout the league, what's happening in Boston, should serve as a wake-up call for every NBA franchise. The Celtics situation proves that championship windows can slam shut without warning, that even the most well-constructed rosters are vulnerable to the whims of fate. This forced retooling will have massive implications across the league. Quality players like Holiday, Porzingis, and potentially even Brown could reshape contending teams overnight. The trade market is about to be flooded with championship-caliber talent, creating opportunities for some franchises while devastating others. For Boston, the challenge becomes maximizing return value while positioning for a future that might not arrive for several years. They need to balance competitive integrity with asset management, all while their franchise player recovers from a career-altering injury. The human element nobody talks about, lost in all the trade speculation and salary cap mathematics, is the human element of this story. These are players who bonded over a championship run, who experienced the ultimate high of NBA success together. Now, they're potentially being scattered to the winds, not because they failed, but because circumstances beyond their control made their partnership unsustainable. Imagine being Jaylen Brown, watching your championship teammates potentially traded away while you're left to carry a franchise that was supposed to be competing for titles. Or consider Holiday and White, veterans who finally tasted championship success only to see it potentially ripped away by economic necessity. This is the dark side of professional sports that fans rarely consider. Behind every trade rumor is a human being whose life is about to be upended, whose relationships are about to be severed, whose dreams of sustained success are being sacrificed on the altar of salary cap management. The long-term perspective, the silver lining in this devastating story, is that the Celtics aren't completely rebuilding. They're retooling, which suggests they believe they can return to contention once Tatum recovers. At 27, he should still have several prime years remaining, assuming he can return to full strength from the Achilles injury. Brown, at 28, also fits this timeline, meaning Boston could potentially have a championship-caliber core for several more years if they navigate this transition period successfully. The key word being if. The next few weeks will determine whether the Celtics can transform this forced retooling into future championship opportunities, or whether they'll join the long list of teams that couldn't recover from championship core breakups. Here's what I need to know from you. Is this Celtic situation the most heartbreaking example of how quickly NBA championships windows can close, or have you seen worse disasters unfold? And more importantly, which team do you think benefits most from Boston's forced fire sale? Drop your predictions in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to see who you think lands these championship-proven players, and don't forget to hit that like button if stories like this remind you why we love and hate sports in equal measure.